Hello and welcome to this session on leading a trust-wide strategy for reading. I'm Nicola Quick. I'm an Associate Assistant Head Teacher at Chiltern High School for Boys, but I'm also Director of the English Curriculum and Reading Lead for Chiltern Learning Trust. Although I'm presenting this session, this is by no means work that I am doing solely on my own. I also work alongside Nicola Hickton, who's the Secondary Director of English, and Zoe Kerr, the Primary Director of English, as well as Nadine Cotton, the Deputy Director of School Improvement. And it's not just down to the four of us, there's many other people behind the scenes who support, as you would expect with any implementation of a trust-wide strategy. A lot of what I'm delivering today is work that myself, Zoe and Nicola have done together, and is a journey that we've been on to ensure that this strategy and this vision is suitable for all the schools in the trust, whether that's primary or secondary. So we want to ensure that there is a clear vision of what we are trying to achieve, and there's 5 areas within this vision that I'm going to look at in a little bit more detail. So we want to ensure that there's CPD delivered from the head teacher down to understand the importance of both reading and oracy on personal development and attainment, although for today's session I'm focusing more on reading. So this CPD, as it says, was started at a head teacher immersion meeting and ensured that head teachers understood why reading was a priority for the trust. So we looked at the achievement gap, we looked at what it would look like for a child in a lesson who struggles with reading, what they might see when they see a text. And we asked schools to evaluate their current reading practice. We knew that there was a lot of good work going on in schools, but a lot of what was evaluated was work around explicit teaching of reading, so reading lessons that were timetabled, interventions that happened, and work that was done on engaging readers. Whereas what was missing was the side to do with pedagogy. So, what happens if I walk into a science lesson? Am I seeing reading being taught, or is there still an almost outdated view that reading is down to an English teacher? Schools were very, very good at looking at the reading ages, but we wanted to do some work on what those reading ages looked like in practice. And so we also delivered some training on the link between reading age and behaviour in particular to understand the behaviours of children with lower reading ages and how that might manifest itself in the classroom. So yes, we know that student has a reading age of 7, but what does that actually mean for the curriculum subject for them as a learner? So to come up with a trust-wide strategy, myself, Zoe, Nicola and Nadine worked on a set of key reading principles. And they fall under these 6 categories: expert knowledge, considered curriculum, effective pedagogy, purposeful practice, rigorous assessment and intervention, and rich culture. So we wanted to make sure that there was a consistent approach to reading across the trust without being so prescriptive that we are telling schools how they are going to do this. So this is the what element, if you would like, and we want schools to then look at where their practice currently sits. So under each principle, we've unpacked what that means. This is very much in draft form, and there is actually a bullet point which is missing from this infographic that we've recently added under considered curriculum around diversity. So we want to make sure that students are represented through the text they're exposed to at school. So this is very much the what and the how, but without being too prescriptive. So schools can then still ensure that they've got an individualised approach to reading based on what they know are the key needs of their cohort and their learners. As a trust, we have a QDR model, so a quality development review model, which looks at almost deep diving key subjects within school and has traditionally been around curriculum subject areas or areas such as SEND. However, now we hold QDRs for reading in particular. So we spend a whole day in a school. This is just an example timetable. However, as you would understand and imagine, the timetable will change depending on the needs of each school. But on a typical QDR day, we would have meetings with the reading lead, we'd visit reading forms, visit English lessons, but also visit other curriculum subject lessons, any curriculum subject. And then we also might spend some time in the library visiting the librarian, again depending on the needs of that school or the structure and setup of reading within that school. We devised a set of reading questions. These were taken from some research that we'd done, work from the EEF, for example, but also what myself and Zoe just found to be the questions that we needed to ask within those meetings and the follow-up questions. So these questions are used as a guide to try and really dig deep into the reading practice of the school. And from those QDRs, we've been able to come up with some strengths of the schools when it comes to reading, but also areas for improvement. So the QDR model is very much developmental, that helps us to evaluate the practice of schools, but also gives schools areas of improvement moving forward to improve their practice. It's very much a done with model as opposed to a done to model. We've also then worked on a set of KPIs, so key performance indicators, which are again used not to critique, again not a done to model, but a done with model to evaluate and monitor how schools are doing in terms of their reading provision. So our KPIs are from renew up to rich practice, and we define rich practice as something that schools would travel out of their borough to go and see. We have tried to make the KPIs as detailed as possible whilst making the area of reading as granular as possible, so schools are really able to dig deep and evaluate their provision. Another area of priority or part of the vision for reading is to realign oracy and reading with literacy as the bread and butter of everyday practice. So at the moment, there's work being done on reading, but there's also work being done on oracy, but we want to realign those under the umbrella of literacy over time. So you'll see the work being done for oracy is very similar to that of the work being done with reading. We've got KPIs, we've got the principles for oracy, and we've also got a framework that helps schools to understand what we mean by oracy. So moving away from oracy being a debate competition that happens once or twice in a year, or an extracurricular group that's for the top 5% of pupils, to oracy, fundamental oracy, so the roots of oracy, what children are sounding like around school, and also developing oracy within the mainstream curriculum. So we're very much wanting now to realign those two together. So we've had some great work happen with oracy, great work happen with reading, based around frameworks, KPIs and principles, and we're now looking to bring all of those realigned together with literacy. The journey has been a great journey, a real learning curve, but has really allowed schools to, first of all, understand what we mean by reading, to evaluate their current practice, to then look at areas for improvement, to look at which area of reading in particular is an area that can be improved, and to put some time and training into those areas to ensure that we're maximising outcomes for reading. This was quite a whirlwind run through reading as a trust-wide strategy. There will be some documentation that I'll leave to support you, some of the frameworks or KPIs that I've mentioned today. And if you'd like to hear any more, please do get in touch with me. And I hope that you have gained something from this session. Thank you.